What's happening, Jets fans? This is GreenBean, and welcome to another late night vlog. I gotta talk to you about something that's pretty important. We've been talking about the lead up for quite some time, and the Senior Bowl is behind us. And there's a lot that we can learn about our staff and maybe even some of our plans when you look at the Senior Bowl with a little bit of hindsight. Now, going up to it, we were really excited about Phil Savage with his Mobile, Alabama connections. He was born there. He went to elementary school there. He went to high school there. He even went to college nearby in Alabama, was the Crimson Tide radio guy after being a GM in the NFL. And as we know, he also was the executive director of the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. So the fact that he's Joe Douglas's senior personnel assistant for the New York Jets, when we had the opportunity to go down there and be the coaches of the Senior Bowl, we had a lot of inclinations that maybe Phil Savage would have had some connections and be able to pull some strings a little bit more than maybe the other team, the Detroit Lions. And I think we saw that. When you look at our roster, you saw a lot of guys that would fit the bill for guys that you would think the Jets would be interested out of the players available for both teams. Guys like Trey McBride, guys like Zion Johnson, guys like Jake Ferguson, Charlie Kolar, even Jeremy Ruckert before his grandfather passed away and he had to leave. There was a lot of guys on our roster. It's like, if we were going to look at somebody, it would be that guy. Even Devin Lloyd, before he opted out, was going to be on the national team roster. So we saw the week of practice, we saw the game, and now we get to take a look and go, so what did we learn here from the Senior Bowl? What was it, a positive experience? Is there anything that we can take from it? Number one, I want to start with probably the most obvious positive was the fact that Ron Middleton, functioning as the head coach of the national team, really showed everybody what he's made of. Yes, we saw him as the interim head coach when Robert Saleh was on the COVID protocol. We saw Ron Middleton lead the Jets to a victory over the Jaguars, and it was all positive, and everybody spoke very highly about the job he did and all that. But down there in Mobile, he had a full week with guys that he didn't know, and he got to be the head coach of this young batch of players going into the Senior Bowl, and we got a chance to see him in his element, not being his first time as a head coach, maybe a little bit more comfortable in the role. We very famously saw that pre-game speech that he gave where he said, and I'll paraphrase, he said, if it moves, hit it. If it doesn't move, hit it. And if you're unsure, guess what? And the whole team chanted, hit it. And the thing is about that physical play, what do we say about the guys that the New York Jets want to bring in? They want guys who love the game of football, guys who hate losing even more than they like winning. When you got a guy out there like Ron Middleton grabbing these young guys and just hit it. This is about being more physical than the other team. These are the types of things that he's saying to these young guys. This really fits in well with the types of players that the Jets are trying to attract. Let's put our methodology out there and see who responds. Let's see if anybody on this team is even worthy of consideration. Sure, they did well in college. Sure, they got stats and numbers and people speak highly of them. But when we actually put their nose to the grindstone, how do they respond? That was a great opportunity for us. And when you saw Ron Middleton out there being like that with these guys, how they responded, the first day of practice, the word coming out of the Senior Bowl was this. The New York Jets practice was significantly faster. It was significantly more well-run. It seemed like everybody was more intense. When you hear Ron Middleton talking like that, you can easily see why. Now, I got to be honest, I was a little bit nervous after that first report, because along with it came that the Jets side had a couple more maybe injuries than the other side, which is obviously not what you want to see at the Senior Bowl. So I was thinking, oh no, maybe our Jets guys are a little bit too intense. Maybe they don't really know what they're doing. But that wasn't the case at all. Nobody really got injured. It was just couple little dings, but it made me concerned. But the rest of the practices were the same way. There was even a report that came out speaking about Detroit's practices where they said it's really difficult to tell what they're trying to accomplish over there. Like their practices just aren't as efficient. They're not run with the same efficiency as the New York Jets side. The New York Jets were precise. They were on point. And that's exactly what you want to hear. Now, God forbid we sent Adam Gase or any of our previous coaching staffs recently, if they went down there. We would probably be being talked about like the Detroit Lions staff was. They didn't really know what they were doing. The Jets, on the other hand, again, efficient, precise. They knew exactly what they wanted to accomplish. And then with Ron Middleton leading the pack, they ran a more intense, more physical practice. And when they got to the game, you saw it. It was night and day. What our defense did to their offense was night and day difference to what our offense was able to accomplish against their defense. It was really something to see. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, I recommend that you take a few minutes and at least watch some of the highlights and stuff. Watch our guys and how they played. A lot of credit has to be given to the players, of course. But again, it really is about the coaching staff and how they're pushing the players, what they want them to do. And our staff brought a more physical team, and in my opinion, a team that just looked crisper. They looked better from the get-go. Now, there were players on the American team that looked excellent. Malik Willis, even though he had somewhat of a shorter opportunity than some of the other quarterbacks they had for the American team, Malik Willis looked legit to me. I thought he was going to play a little bit more. I wanted to see him a little bit more because I want the Lions to fall in love with him. That's what I want. I want the Lions to fall in love with the quarterback so they don't take Aiden Hutchinson. See if that comes to pass or not. But let's look at a few things specifically about the Senior Bowl. We know that we played a more physical game. We know that our Jets coaching staff ran a more efficient practice, a more goal-oriented practice than our counterparts on the other side. But let's look at some of the players. Now, how did the Jets take to these practices? Well, there was a pretty good example. Boye Mafe was reported as saying the Jets contacted him a few days before the Senior Bowl, and they let him know that they're going to want to see what he looks like with his hand in the dirt. Now, Boye Mafe said, hey, up to this point, I've never really done that. I've never practiced that way. I've always been a stand-up edge rusher. So the Jets let him know, hey, we want to see you with your hands in the dirt. Now, why would that be? Well, because they run a 4-3, and our defensive ends are generally in a 3-point stance. The whole game he had his hand in the dirt, which is because the Jets wanted to see him that way. Sure, he looks like he can do it. Maybe an outside linebacker standing up. They wanted to see what he looked specifically in their system. Don't forget, guys, this is an opportunity, not just to get to meet the players, but you have control of the players. Let's see. I want to see what this guy looks like in my system. So they did that. And Boye Mafe won National Team Player of the Game. Interesting, huh? First time put his hands in the dirt, he wins Player of the Game with 2 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss. The guy was borderline unstoppable. Another guy that was his counterpart on the defensive line actually won MVP, and that's Perrian Winfrey. Another guy that the Jets wanted to take a look at. Now, I'm hoping that they don't draft defensive tackles so early where maybe Perrian Winfrey's going to go. If they take one, and I hope they don't, I hope it's later in the draft. But Perrian Winfrey ended up winning MVP, and Boye Mafe won National Team Player of the Game. So real interesting. 2 defensive line guys go ahead and win such honors. The key is what the Jets wanted to do with him. They wanted to see what he looks like in their system. And hey, man, for a first time in the system, I think he did pretty damn well. Another guy is Zion Johnson. They wanted Zion Johnson to play center. As we know, Zion Johnson is a guard, and they wanted to see what he looks like playing center. And they used him that way throughout the week. So why would they do that? Well, you know that the Jets focus on versatility. They want offensive linemen that can play more than one position. Elijah Vera-Tucker is a fantastic example of that. Sure, he's our left guard, but in a pinch, we know that this guy can play left tackle at a high level. So they got that guy. Being able to have guys that can be moved around when you need them to, via injuries or whatever else, we know that that's a problem for us. We now know that we have guys that can do that. So Zion Johnson, they wanted to see what he looks like for their purposes. We know he can play guard. We're going to put him in at guard. We want to see him play center, and they did just that. Now, another one really interesting, probably not the same pedigree as Zion Johnson, but another guy is Cole Strange. I think that's how it's said. It might just flat out be Cole Strange. Maybe he's Doctor Strange's offspring. But Cole Strange, he's been a guard throughout college, left guard. He's played a little bit of right guard. He's also played left tackle in college. And he has played a few games at center, but it's not his position. What did the Jets want to see? They wanted to see him at center. So they played him at center. And let me tell you something. The guy was borderline dominating. He looked fantastic. Cole Strange, I want to tell you something. He started every single game from his sophomore year on. Every single game. He even started 6 games his freshman year. So once he made it to the starting lineup, he started every single game for 4 straight years. He had 6 years with the final year of eligibility due to COVID, but he did four straight years. He did 4 straight years of starting every single game in college. The Jets saw him on the national team, and they tinkered around with him, and the guy did a fantastic job. Somebody to keep an eye on. Another one is Chad Mumma, the linebacker out of Wyoming. This guy played what looked like most of the game, maybe even the whole game. He got in there, and they took a long, hard look at him. Chad Mumma led the entire Senior Bowl in tackles with 9, 3 more than the next best guy, and he had 5 solo, and he was everywhere. If I think anybody raised their draft stock from where they were, it might just be Chad Mumma, and he looked fantastic. Now, this guy, I'm telling you, man, you know the Jets are going to look for linebackers. They saw him, and even to a slightly lesser degree, Asamoah. They had these guys in there for extended periods of time. Why? Because they can, and they want to take a look at these guys. And that's something that's really important coming out of this game, is that you see the New York Jets maximizing their opportunity. Let's take Boye Mafe. We have him. Let's see what he can do in our system for a week. Why not? Let's see if these guys are as versatile as we hope they can be. Let's see if it works. Let's see what this guy Mumma does as a 3-down linebacker. That's what we need. Let's see him as a 3-down linebacker. And they got to see that. And all these guys looked fantastic. Here's another one. They put Jake Ferguson in there for a long time, the tight end. And he led the entire Senior Bowl with 62 yards on 3 catches and a touchdown. Now, look, guys, maybe we don't get Trey McBride in the second. Maybe he's gone at the end of the first. I do not think the Jets are going to use a first-round pick on a tight end. Maybe they're not even willing to use a second-round pick. When you get guys like Ruckert and now Jake Ferguson, maybe they wanted to see what they looked like for an extended period of time so they know what they need to know on whether or not this guy makes it okay to maybe miss on the other guy that they're hoping slides to them if they don't, right? Maybe Jake Ferguson is one of those guys. Look at Jesse Lokita out of Penn State. You know, we all love Penn State linebackers. What if we don't love Brandon Smith? What if he's gone? What if Nakobe Dean, Devin Lloyd, Brandon Smith, Christian Harris, what if they're all gone? And you're in the 3rd round, you're in the 4th round, and here's Jesse Lokita. Well, Jesse Lokita was the 3rd player on the national team to get 2 sacks, and he looked damn good. So again, guys, the Jets did an exceptional job using players that we might want to take a look at, particularly in positions that we're going to look at, and using them in situations which replicate how they would use them on the field for the New York Jets. So guys, that's one of these things. We're seeing our staff. Not only are their practices looking better, not only are they more intense, not only are they more efficient, not only do they just look better in general, but they're using the players to their advantage. They're taking advantage of the opportunity, squeezing the lemon for every single drop that it's worth. In addition to getting to see, what does Rob Calabrese look like calling Mike LaFleur's offense? What does Ruttenberg look like calling Salah's defense? What about Ron Middleton? Let's see him as a whole week as a full-time head coach. Let's see these guys and give them their opportunities. Ron Middleton's going to end up being a head coach soon. I just hope he gets hired right from us as a head coach and doesn't leave us for an offensive coordinator position first. The guy's got the goods, and we're seeing the Jets take every opportunity to showcase that and to put guys in these positions to be successful. And the last thing I'll say, coming out of this game, even guys like Ian Rappaport, and I'll show you a clip here in a second, even guys like Ian Rappaport said, it really doesn't look like the first year of a rebuild for the New York Jets. It looks like they're at the end of year 2. It looks like they're going into year 3. They got something going on here. You can start to see the makings of what looks like an actual plan. Take a look at the clip.
Feels to me like year 2 in the rebuild. I know it's year 1 for Sal, but it feels like year 2 in the rebuild. And I guess it feels like they're through year 2 in the rebuild, I should say. They're in a good place. It feels like a team that should be making a jump.
So, guys, I think the biggest takeaway of all coming out of this game is that the Jets maximized their opportunity. They came out of here looking like they might just know what they're doing. And for once, the Jets staff is put into the national spotlight for a week next to another organization's staff being put in the spotlight for a week, and we came out looking the better of the two. So what do you think? Did you enjoy the Senior Bowl? Is there anybody that I didn't mention that you think really showed up and had a great day? Let me know in the comments. As you know, I love reading them. I love chatting with you guys. Let me know what you think, and have a great night, everybody. And as always, go New York Jets.